GIFs. It's really funny. Hello, everybody. How's it going? I think the camera's a little messed up.
You want me to fix it?
No, I got it.
Cool. Nice. Hey, how are you guys doing? Welcome back to our bi-weekly Devstream. To my left here, you're right, it's Matt. I am HB, and this is Mark.
How's it going?
Well, I feel it's so off. I usually say those things.
Yeah, we're improvising.
How's everybody? Oh, the music's still on.
Oh.
I knew there was going to be something.
Maybe we should redo the intro.
No.
Nah, they were able to listen to hear us.
It's absolutely fine.
Okay.
How's everybody doing? How's our update going? How's the dev branch?
Ooh.
Are you asking them or are you asking
I'm
us?
asking everybody. I'm asking the room.
Well, we're going to have to keep this dev stream quick because we got a lot of work to do.
There's so much work to do.
Yeah, this has been by far the biggest update we've ever worked on, as we've said a million times. And it's coming down to the wire. We're working through all the bugs, working through all the issues, and now it's just a matter of how hard and fast can everyone work, and you know how much good information you guys can tell us about the dev branch and how fast we can fix those things. And it's gonna be like this all the way till next week. So yeah, well, it's exciting.
I think this is the first stream you've been on with not long hair.
Oh yeah. So that's
some
the
people
update.
were mentioning it. Yeah.
Right.
HB got a makeover.
One day I decided to just cut my hair, and that was it. That's the whole story.
Talk about your hair on the stream instead.
It's a pain in the ass. Okay, so before my hair was parted in the middle, so now I'm trying to part on the
All right,
sides.
and so
Actually, you know who you look like? You know what this haircut looks like? The villain from The Fifth Element.
Come on! Like the one that has like the one like this.
Yeah. Like the Gary Oldman character.
No, I don't.
kind of does a bit look.
You know, I
like
saw Gary Oldman before on a plane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Seen First Class?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But I was not. I just walked past him, and I think Adam was with me, and he's like, "Hey, is that Gary Oldman?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it kind of looks like Gary Oldman." It's kind of cool. That was the first GDC that we ever went to.
Was that the mobile one?
In Los Angeles, yeah. And anyways, it was a long time ago.
All right, well, let's get into the meat of it. There's going to be no normal community highlights again this week. We're just ruining everything.
Yeah.
I know. We're finally ready to unveil the art contest winners, which is why we don't have community highlights today, which is really cool. And I know some of you have been waiting for this moment, and we've been just so busy to do it before.
We picked a bad time, but we didn't know when we planned it.
I mean,
so.
I remember being part of the conversations, and then I kind of left the conversations, and I heard you guys just talking about these. You guys spent a lot of time on choosing, and I remember hearing you guys in that meeting for a very, very long time trying to figure things out, and everyone felt very strongly about this. So this is definitely everyone really cared a lot. Is sort of the takeaway from that whole thing. Right?
It was actually the deliberation was really interesting. We had a lot to talk. It was actually a very, very hard deliberation. Let's start. We're gonna start from the third place up to first place.
So before we get into that, I think this was a tough one.
It was really tough.
I think this was a tough one for people submitting, and I think this was a tough one for us to judge. And I think we learned a lot. So it's been an interesting.
Just going back to that meeting again, I remember you guys were just talking in circles. You just kept going around the same point, but this, that's, all I kept hearing.
In the end, we found we decided to fall back to the very basic criteria of what the contest was about. So even though we had some entries that were really amazing, they fell a little bit off of the spectrum of what we were expecting and what was a topic and things like that. So the final deliberation happened, and the final winners were chosen, respecting what exactly was the contest about. And I think that was when our winner became extremely clear.
Yeah, I think the winner was which is I think it was probably the easiest choice.
Yeah.
The number one
after we really hunker down, maybe yeah. Number 2, 3, 4, 5.
Like once we
whatever.
were down to our finals, I think
Yeah.
it was easy to choose a winner. I think until then it was hard to
runner-ups
narrow
were
down.
really, really hard.
Yeah, it was really hard.
Really, really
So,
hard.
all right, well,
Okay,
without further ado,
Yeah, let's start this show. So okay, on third place, we got A Soldier's Legacy by 82DK Razor.
this is a machinima
Yes.
with a lot of voice acting and a lot of really good work.
It was quite fantastic. This one, it was amazing because even though some like it's technically it was using the game as an engine, but on the sheer scope of what was done, the story that was told, the editing on the video, and then like adding the letters, which is also like a different component that is not in the game, making sure that everybody was working together and filming, and it's quite impressive. It was amazing to watch. It was like incredible to see like the scenes that they were able to coordinate and create a coherent story and go with it. It was really, really, really cool.
And I think it was like, it hit the theme pretty hard, harder than a lot of other entries. And for me, it was really cool to see, like I said in this little quote here, it was really cool for me to see something that's like Red versus Blue or machinima that we've seen like way back. We don't really see a lot of machinima anymore nowadays. None of it really gets popular. So it was cool to see it. It was like, oh, like this is like a little, like a bit of the past kind of like coming to Foxhole. And it made me very proud of our game that it's even possible. Like the things that they did were pretty wild.
Yeah.
So
it was fantastic. And to credit for the editing and whoever did the script for this, Adam, like there's even a quote for him, like we were actually quite like invested in the story, which doesn't happen every time with all the entries, but in this one it was quite a nice video.
So I think a lot of the chat is saying it was because our rules like stated it could only be like submitted by one person. There's actually a lot of 82DK worked on this video.
It shows. It definitely shows.
I just want to throw that out there
for sure. You can tell.
Yeah, no, it was quite impressive. Okay, so that was really, really cool, and you guys are going to be able to see all the entries that won, all the winners. We're gonna make a post with the winners on a blog post. I'm sure Max will take care of that, so you guys can watch the video and see for yourself. It's quite nice. Second place, we got Human Spirit by Bloody Sky. This was quite interesting.
I think that this might have like getting the second place was the most deliberation.
It
between
was
those
so
two.
hard.
This is probably the best cosplay we've seen.
Yeah.
It's a really good photo.
It's really well done. Like to the point that there was a couple of people that were like, yeah, but what's the point of like just grabbing a stock photo and submitting? It's like that's not what was done.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of effort that went into this shot and the little story that's being told and like going out into these woods that there was a lot involved in this particular like cosplay, and I think it really like screams like this is the first time Foxhole has like come to life. And I know that it's like World War II analogous, so like there are some things that are pretty easy to get your hands on, but that doesn't take anything away from putting it all together.
Absolutely.
It's clearly a Warden. It's clearly a Colonial. Like, so they're two very clearly soldiers, clearly from our game. So,
yeah, I think that one of the things that made this interesting was the fact that sure it's a simple story, but making one image speak a whole story is not a simple thing.
Yeah,
and that's why sometimes you see like comics and videos and stuff like that. So making like the submission was only the picture, nothing else, and that brevity is I think it elevates a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It was really hard. It fell down to technicalities of like how well was done, because
it was so close. We were literally like had to get objective. Like
Yeah.
we couldn't just be subjectively like, oh, this is better than this one. It wasn't possible. They were so close. So
yeah, keep in mind that particularly as we go to our first place, there are several things that we had to consider and which came into play on the second place as well. One of them, like several of them, like sometimes you have amazing entries that fit the theme, but the execution is not that good.
yeah,
Sometimes you have things that are really well executed, but are completely outside of the theme of the contest.
yeah,
Sometimes we just have things that are both at the
it's
same time.
somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And then we have the first place.
The first place. So this might cause a bit of controversy. I just want to say.
So that's okay.
Okay, should I
It
not
doesn't
bury the
matter.
lead?
we were a little bit worried, but doesn't matter. I think the first place, even though there were some other that were better executed as entries, I don't. This one is really, the first place is really one of the best executed, and thematically for the contest, I think is
Yeah.
like the most spot on for what we were expecting and what fits the theme.
All right, so let's reveal it so we can
Okay.
talk about it openly.
And the first place is, once again, Patchouli with his entry, The Hermit.
The Hermit.
And I know some people are not going to be happy with us choosing Patchouli again, but boy, oh boy, his entry was just so damn perfect for the theme.
Yeah. So I think maybe like we have to put in a rule or something in the future, but that's for another time.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us were like, can Patchouli really win again?
We were discussing this,
It's
like,
like-
does it feel fair? Like, and then we thought about, the more we thought about it, it's like, well, it doesn't feel fair if we take one of like the best entry that most fit the theme, has an amazing story. The story that he's telling is so well done. It's completely interwoven with the lore of the game in a non-destructive way, which is
Yeah.
really cool. Like he's not like changing stuff. No, he's just like contextualizing things that are already in the game.
Yeah.
In his story. Then he created an amazing comic with fantastic art, really good flow. And they were like, well, if we don't choose him, that is also unfair.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where if we were to do that, we'd have to let everyone know at the start of the contest.
start.
Exactly. It's like,
Not
look, you cannot
after
win again.
all this effort was
Yeah.
in. I think the thing that stood out.
We don't want an EDDB.
Let's not even go there. But I think the thing that really stood out for me was that I know that like Matt and I always joke about, hey, what if we were to do like a narrative version of Foxhole or some sort of like a short story or some sort of like a short
Yeah.
game or like that sort of thing. And this piece would literally be something like this, right? Like
Yeah.
it's such
This
a
could
high
be a
quality.
showcase of our game.
Yeah,
For sure.
it just, and like the each, like even one, what's one thing that's like a little unfortunate is that I think these thumbnails don't properly
No,
do
absolutely
justice
I
to
know.
this piece, because I'm looking at it here and I'm like, it doesn't look as good, but when you see these in like
Full resolution.
In the
full
in the
resolution,
format that it was presented in.
in the format that it was presented in, it's really impressive. And it's like, it's, I think even like one still would have been amazing, right?
Yeah.
But it was very long. I forgot exactly how many slides there were.
Yeah.
But
It's
there was a
very
lot. It was like a full comprehensive story.
Yeah.
And every image was like fully detailed, and it was just it completely blew me away. Like I was just sort of like,
And that's
Yeah.
coming from somebody that doesn't even usually like pixel
I hate
art.
pixel
Yeah.
art. You guys
So
know
that's
that,
huge,
right?
huge compliment.
Yeah.
So to just without like spoiling everything, because we will be posting these in a blog post
Yeah.
so that you guys can see them properly as opposed to in the stream. This piece tells a story in a way that reframes a piece of existing Foxhole lore that is so, I would buy it. Like it would
Yes.
be, it would be the way that I would write
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I think it would be the way that we would put it in the game if we were to put it in the game, as Mark was saying. I think that's why it was just like And you know, when you talk about the spirit of man, which was like the indomitable spirit of man was sort of our theme in the face of war. I think this just like encapsulated that so perfectly while still being Foxhole without like pandering to the lore. It was just in the world. And I think that's why it's so much stands so much higher than some of the other entries, just simply because there wasn't if you didn't tell me this was Foxhole right away and it was like something totally original, it could probably it could stand on its own. And I think that's why I really liked it. Personally.
It was fantastic. Congratulations to Patchouli. Congratulations to the other winners.
We'll be in touch.
We will be in touch. We will talk to you guys about how to get your.
Yeah, and once this is up, I highly stress that you need to see the full screen version.
Absolutely, check the blog post as soon as the blog post is up because it's worth it. Now, first of all, I wanted to congratulate every single person that submitted their art, because we had some amazing entries that for one reason or another didn't get to be the winners. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for like making this, like being part of this contest. Like it really is humbling. Make sure like seeing all the entries and having everybody, just contribute their time and effort and love and send it to us. But the thing is, there were so many good entries that we had a hard time finding those top 3. So there is at least 2 entries that deserve at least a shout out because they also stood like above and beyond. They did above and beyond of what we expected.
Yeah.
And even though they didn't win, they definitely deserve honorable mentions. So the first one that deserves to be mentioned is an editorial news from Captain in Arms.
Oh, this one was so good.
This one was like fantastic. Captain in Arms have been doing like written stories and magazine stories for Foxhole for a while, but this time he decided to do a 40-page magazine excerpt.
This is like a novelette.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
It was mind blowing. Reading it all, it was really good.
Well, it wasn't just the writing. There were like breakdowns and like statistics and like tables of like statistics in them. If I recall, and it was just like this was one of the ones where when we were choosing who was gonna win, right? Like, man, I wanted all of these guys to win, and this was specifically one of the ones where I was like, oh man, can't we have like a 4th winner or something? I know. You know what I mean? Like it was. I was personally extremely torn on this one. The sheer amount of like effort I think that like went into this was just really amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
For the people arguing in chat, like the contest is open to any medium.
And we were very clear in the beginning that we actually mentioned that you could submit a written piece. We were very clear in the beginning, so don't worry about that.
Yeah. But yeah, this was like it's very clear a lot of work went into this, and
no, it was fantastic. We were very happy reading it. It was quite amazing that each writer that like each one of the writers in the magazine had a different voice and a different way of writing, which was quite impressive. So we were torn about this one and it was a very tough decision.
Yeah.
Just as much as the second honorable mention, which is by Superior. So Superior has been doing these fantastic, hyper-realistic, I would say, images for quite a while. And for the contest, he actually submitted an animation. So you guys are seeing some still frames of the animation. But I would highly recommend you guys to go check it out on the blog post as well, the animation, because it's quite nice. And I think you guys will see why we were also like debating this one as well. It's amazing what he did.
Yeah, I think, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, when you actually get a chance to see them, I think the beginning of this is like really, 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 really good.
I think purely in terms of like the technical like achievement level, like in terms of like having to get these assets and to like
set the scene,
set the scene, and animate, all that effort. I think this one is probably at like the top of the list, which is why I think that this one is.
If anything, I can say the animation takes a lot of time.
No, it doesn't. It's easy, right?
Just move the guy around. What are you talking about?
Just move the guy around. Know what you're talking about.
So it was quite nice to see this. And with that, we are going to conclude our art contest. Once again, thank you for everybody that submitted their art piece. Everybody was really, really happy. Like everybody around our office was really enthusiastic about seeing all the entries. It was very, very fun for us to judge. A little bit stressful because we were stressed about the update as well, and that's why it took a little bit longer.
When you guys were talking about
but when there was a moment that we're like, okay, we gotta Adam's right there.
Yeah, everybody had like their like the one they wanted. Like
there were several other entries that like
there was a heated debate.
They got lots of votes from different people. But these, I think, were the ones that got the most. I don't think, I know for sure, are the ones that got the most votes from like the whole office as a whole. And
also, the whole office voted on this stuff. It wasn't just like a handful of people.
Exactly.
All right, cool. Well, let's move on to a development update. Mark, take it away.
Cool. Yeah. So there's just the last few things that I wanted to go over with Update 26, and hopefully be able to show you guys some cool stuff about what's coming in Update 27, Update 28. Because as we said, the logistics, the stuff we're doing for Update 26 is going to be the start, and this whole summer we're sort of going to be like building on top of it. So it's not just one update; it's going to be like 3 updates, and I like to look at it as like a whole, as like a series of 3 before we kind of move into the fall, and it sort of paints the picture like that. Number 2 column is sort of what we're going to be seeing in the next couple of months. I think Update 26 is definitely going to rock the boat. It's going to change a lot, to say the least, and then we'll follow through. And certainly there's going to be a lot of like fixing of things in Update 27, and then we're going to follow through with Update 28, and then fall there's going to be some interesting things. Winter is going to be huge. I think between I said a couple of streams ago that between then and the end of the year is going to be the most that Foxhole is going to change since the start of the project, and we're past the point of no return. It's kind of started already with like the dev branch, and it's going to keep rolling until the end of the year. So it's going to be a good time to be playing the game if you haven't been playing for a while. So moving on, going over just the last couple of things for Update 26. Something that you guys have probably seen in the dev branch, but I want to highlight it regardless, is the loading dock. And this is something that we came up with quite late in the cycle. And it's really one of the big problems that we found that we think is going to require a lot of work to solve in the long run. But we really want to put in something there to really help out with the waterlogy side of things, because we put so much of our time and effort into making waterlogy a possibility, at least, or at least more of a possibility than the past, with changes to the world map, with the freighter, the shipping containers. And we really want to make sure that it was doing waterlogy is more viable than it has been ever before. And one of the problems we came across is that some of the port areas were just it was way too difficult to get your freighters.
Well, I mean, to
barges.
put it like frankly, like the shipyard structure was not designed to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So that makes it's just a compounding issue. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah.
It was what started the.
Yeah, exactly. The shipyard allows for just this one ship to be serviced at a time, one barge or one freighter, and it also blocks other people from being able to use the shipyard. So this loading dock allows up to 6 freighters and probably more if you tried to be serviced at once, and you can you can unload your barges here too. So, and you'll be able to do a lot more than 6 barges for sure. And this is sort of hopefully in the major shipping areas of the game will allow waterlogy to be more viable, right? So that's sort of something I wanted to highlight. Bridges now have ladders, so this is something that also came in late, and we're still figuring out the last bits of that, but we think we're going to be able to get it to work. And this is really important because when you're running a water supply line through the game, one of the huge barriers is you're driving your freighter along, or your barge, or your cargo ship, or what have you, and you come across this drawbridge, and there's no way to activate it, yeah. Right? So you're kind of stuck. But we're gonna be putting ladders in.
Make no mistake.
I sort of have this like screenshot here to highlight where it's gonna be, right? So
make no mistake. I want waterlogy working. We want it working on these rivers on this map, and we're gonna make it work. It's gonna work.
Yes.
Period.
So if you want to go along that river that starts at Farinac Coast, that's more viable now than it is before. But I think we also have to be honest with ourselves, Matt, and waterlogy we know is still a bit of an uphill battle, and it's not going to be completely solved, but
it's going to work.
Where
to shut up.
Hopefully this is a big step, right? So just to go back there, rocket is now fueled by fuel tankers. This is a little bit of a just a little bit of a mention that the rocket sort of got lost in the cracks in sort of talking about all this other stuff, and how we're going to adapt that to the new fueling system is that the fuel tanker is going to be able to hook right up to the there's a little fuel tank that sits beside the rocket, and it's going to hook up to that, and you're going to be able to fuel directly from your fuel tanker, because otherwise it would be a nightmare trying to bring the necessary amount of fuel to the rocket using the new system, right? So it's something here. Another thing we're doing, where this is already in the dev branch, but we're bringing the it's part of a longer term goal, is to try to unify what we have with the safe houses with the other bases in the game, where the upgrades are more granular. You don't sort of just build this one structure and then you get everything at once, but where you sort of have to build it out over time. And also other parts of the safe house we really like being able to walk inside, and we hope that's something in the future we can sort of bring to the town halls in some way. I think the safe house, I know some people don't really like them because they're really hard to take down, but when we made them, we really set them out to be these these strongholds that are in the towns, to make the towns a little more sticky than they are now, or they were previously. And I think that if we want to look into the future of the town halls, it's going to be the safe houses, and this is sort of the first step there, right? So these are some just sort of the miscellaneous things I wanted to highlight. Moving on from that, the town is going to receive a couple of cool upgrades. The first thing here, so I'll talk about the first, and then I'll sort of talk about the motivation here. So there's going to be tiers to the garrison houses, and basically the first tier is going to be a lot less armor than the garrison houses that are in the game now, and you're going to be able to build it up to the second tier and the third tier, whereas the second and the third tier will have much more armor than the first. It's sort of as you build up the town hall, the rest of the town also is going to be building up at the same time, right? So you're sort of able to. What we want to do is we want to provide more opportunities and sort of a deeper progression for the towns in general. So the players that spend a lot of time wanting to upgrade towns are going to see there is some sort of avenue towards that. And also the third tier is going to fire AT rifle rounds, so that they're going to be useful against things like tanks, because this is, you know, another reason why we've been doing this is because we've been hearing a lot of like feedback about how, you know, in the late game there's no point to build. It's so hard to like hold towns, because once you have tanks, then they just go around and like steamrolling everything. And this is like a part of us taking a look at that feedback, which we know we're going to address more comprehensively in the base building update in the future. But you know, we're wanting to take some like shorter term measures now to sort of like help that situation a bit. And in order to build the higher tiers, you do need to have the town hall actually like upgraded. And another thing I want to say about this was that one of the reasons why we're doing this is because we want to shift the balance of it with regards to the towns and with regards to like bases in general, where if you put a low amount of effort into building your bases, into building your towns, you shouldn't get as much as you get now. But at the same time, if you put even more effort into the towns, you should get a lot more than you have right now, right? Mm-hmm. So we're sort of making those changes at like both ends of the spectrum, and this is something we're going to be pushing a lot harder into in the future. And you can sort of see in this screenshot here, I sort of like this screenshot, it will never look like it's in the game, but this was the best way for me to show sort of the three versions of the houses. Mm-hmm. Whereas the first tier is on the left, and the second tier is in the middle, and then the third tier is on the right side. Yeah, if you look at the windows, that's sort of what like all the windows are going to look like on the houses once they reach a certain tier. So that's something to look forward to. And another thing is that we're generally going to be increasing the health on certain structures, because again, this is to help the base builders in the late game, right? So this is specifically targeted towards like late game to try to level the playing field a bit with tanks and you know, that sort of stuff in the late game. And you know, these are just sort of the few things that we're going to be doing in that area, right? So towns will get stronger, hopefully.
Nice.
And sort of this, I just want to go over the process again. I've talked about some of the stuff at length, but I want to go through it one more time, sort of like what to expect over the next week, right? We're working on 2 more dev branch builds. The first one we want to get out tomorrow morning or as early as possible tomorrow, and then Thursday or Friday we're going to sort of push out the last build, and hopefully that one will be quite solid. But if there's any last minute issues, then they'll be caught, and hopefully we'll be able to fix those. And then on Monday, there is going to be a test rollout, and this is going to be an experimental release in resistance mode. So because of everything that's changed, everything from the maps, from the logi features, to like the fact that the server, so something you guys don't see that's completely behind the scenes is the server infrastructure we had to build to like actually run this world with 23 regions is like insane, right? It's like, it's I hope we can talk about it one day, but like just know that this stuff does not come for free. Like we have to put a lot of time.
It's not like press the button and then the maps are.
No,
like,
it's like
just create more maps, Matt.
Like the Unreal Engine is you know, if you're sort of running a game that's like Fortnite or like PUBG, it's very straightforward. You just, I mean, it's not, even that's not straightforward, but relatively speaking, you just kind of run one server and then a bunch of people join in and you're set, right? This is like a matrix of like 23 server instances that we have to like manage. So we have to build a lot of tools to manage that, because managing 23 server instances is just completely bonkers if you don't have any tooling, right? Yeah. So we're testing all that infrastructure out on Monday, and also if there's anything majorly broken in the gameplay that we just weren't able to foresee, we're going to have time on Monday and Tuesday to sort of address these last minute issues. But to kind of stress this point is that this is not the time to be like looking for, oh, this is not balanced or this is not balanced. This is more like if there's something that is a game breaking issue, right? Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing that we're going to be looking at, right? Like oh, we cannot progress in the game because we're not able to build whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That's sort of what we're looking at. Or like, you know, we can't enter this map, or we entered this map and there's a giant like hole in the ground for whatever reason that might be. That's the kind of stuff that we're gonna be looking for. And then yeah, so we're gonna use this to find last minute bugs. And I want to talk about the feedback process a bit. I sort of, want to talk about a few things to sort of expect, because so much is changing. It's not going to be comfortable. Not everything's going to be comfortable, and I think you guys understand it already. But more so than ever, this update is going to change so much that you might go in the game and something that you are used to working a certain way is not going to work the same way anymore. What we want to say and sort of like the message that we want to send you guys is like, you got to give it some shakedown time, right? Like, we can't base our decisions on really short-term type of like reactionary kind of feedback, because often you need to give things time before you know whether or not they're going to work out. And that's not only a message to you guys, but it's like a message to us too. Like sometimes we will see something and we'll be like, what? This is weird.
We gotta fix it now.
We gotta fix it now. Like, it's broken. Even sometimes when I talk to Matt, and then he will even tell me like, wait. This is what we want to do. Maybe we should wait a bit and see, if it's going to work. And sometimes it just does. Sometimes you just have to wait and you're like, oh, okay, I get how
people
it's
figure
out.
out.
Then there are other times people will come to me and say, this thing is broken. I'm like, I got to fix it. I got to go fix it right now. Get out of my way, throw stuff off my desk. And like,
yeah, exactly. So like, it's not just you guys. We feel the same way. But one thing we've learned from our past is that we have to give things time, right? So once we've given things time, then we need to like hear from you guys. So, you guys know all the channels. You can talk to us. We're going to be completely open to talking next week. If there's an issue that you feel strongly about, like, you can talk to us about it, right?
Some of the
2 weeks, but after the release makes more sense for us to see what's going on.
Oh yeah, like we'll definitely listen, but I think in terms of changing things, we definitely want to wait for some shakedown, right? And sort of get the bigger picture before we just start changing things about something we don't really entirely understand yet, right?
It might mean a couple wars before we really understand. The other thing too is like you have communicate through proper channels there, and I just want to emphasize that, like, DMing one of us all of us is likely going to get ignored because we're not really like using that. Using the suggestions channel, using Reddit is a great tool, and formulate your feedback in a way that's like easy to understand, and it'll definitely get to us because it'll just it'll cycle, it'll circulate.
And the biggest things with like the DMs is like, I actually read most of them, right?
Me too. Yeah,
me too.
But the reason why I it's not a great means is because it's not tracked.
Yep.
Like if you send something to me, like if you go, Mark, like this thing in this map is gonna be broken, I'll probably be in the middle of like having lunch or like dinner or something when I get this message. I'll read it. I'll be like, oh man, that sucks. Like we should totally fix it. And I'll go off do something else. And then the people that are supposed to fix the maps will never ever see it. That will never get to Matt. He'll never fix it. But on the other hand, if you put it somewhere it can be tracked in the proper channels, then the map team is going to see it, and there's a chance that it's going to be fixed.
Yeah,
right?
and it'll get logged, which is like a big deal.
If you just on the DMing all the devs at the same time, if you DM all the devs at the same time, most of us will read the like if we see a notification on Discord, we're like, oh, it's something important. We'll read. So DMing something for everybody usually means that you're putting the whole production on hold for like 5 minutes until everybody figure out, wait, what's going on? Who is responding to this person? Who is this person saying?
And they'll just be asking like, what's Callahan's last name? And it's like, okay, well, like we didn't need to do that. But it's fine.
We're always open to receiving messages.
Absolutely.
Don't get us wrong. Just don't expect us to respond right away.
Yeah.
Or sometimes we even can't.
And things might not be tracked, which is the one that I'm the most worried about.
Yeah, for bugs,
it's not going to be tracked.
It's not good. If you want something fixed, it's actually better if you send it on like either Reddit or somewhere that our mods are, like we have tools in place to take the bugs that you guys provide and put it in our internal logging system.
Yeah. Well, there's like the bug channel on Discord, right? That's a good place.
For the record, Callahan is his last name.
Yeah, you guys don't know the first name.
Did you see that post on Reddit where it's like, who's Callahan?
Who's Callahan?
That was a really funny post. I'm not done yet.
Yeah,
so
we have more stuff to go
keep
through.
On going through this, and some of these dates, obviously, who knows? Anything could happen last minute. We're dealing with a lot right now. Things could change. Now, I want to talk about a couple of things that are past Update 26, and we've been waiting a long time to share this.
Hold on, I really want to reveal this.
Okay.
Keanu Reeves is coming to Foxhole.
Huh?
He's right there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I don't know if everyone really gets that, but
Well, we'll find out who does.
I mean, I get it, right?
Well, I didn't even hear it.
Weird,
they get it. It's
weird inside joke no one's going to get.
You're breathtaking.
So anyways, there's something we wanted to show you guys that we've been working on, and we really try hard to get this into update 26. It was planned for update 26, but we just ran out of time. Too much to work on. But I don't know. I'm excited about it, Matt. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. This is,
Yeah.
I think I've been dying to work on
So
this.
when we revamped the resources and we created this idea of like mining operations, right? We knew it couldn't happen without a harvester, right? So this is something that I want to show you guys now. It was for update 26, but it's being postponed. A fully functioning harvester for mining operations, and this is going to be coming in either update 26, 27, or 28. We're going to be working hard on this, and I hope you guys are going to be really excited to finally get this fully functional harvester that you've been asking for 2 damn years.
It's been 2 years. I think we like once mentioned it, and then it became.
Yeah, and I think one of the main reasons why we didn't want to rush it in was because we knew we rushed it in,
And you wouldn't fit.
it wouldn't like do it justice. Like we want to take the time to make it feel right. We want to add the proper effects. We want to really, make it pleasant to use this harvester, right? So look forward to that this summer.
And it's actually coming. We're not just like showing you a picture and then not delivering it.
So
Just show the logo of the game.
yeah, in terms of the next couple of updates, like I said, we're going to be building on update 26. We're obviously going to be listening to your feedback, adjusting the balance, fixing bugs, polish, and we're looking forward to making more improvements on the unified map because we sort of completely changed the map screen and some things might be missing, but we also have a lot of ideas on how that screen can be so much better. We're really excited about that.
Can you?
I think another thing we're going to see is we built a lot of things with the future in mind. About there's a lot of features that exist in the game now where we want to port to these new concepts, right? Like we want to utilize the construction yard a lot more, and for things like building a rocket booster there or building a howitzer there, having to move it on a flatbed truck. These are the types of things that we're going to be pushing into. There's just a lot more things that are going to come. I think this is like a whole new beginning for the game, and I'm really excited.
Can you imagine if we're gonna have wars on this hexagonal maps now? It's gonna be so different. I'm so excited for this.
I'm so excited and nervous, but nervous in a good way. And for anyone who's just not been following us at all, it's coming next Wednesday, June 19th. I need to have this last slide just in case, right?
I'm going to play a lot of Foxhole next week.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a really short Q&A because we got a lot of work to do. So we're going to ask a couple questions. So make your questions good.
Oh, that's hard.
I'll just ask this first question that came up. How will the BMAT economy change with the coming update? And could you address the refinement ratios and your reasoning behind them?
Yeah, so we're going to be releasing the dev branch tomorrow. Is going to contain a much more solid and much more final version of the economy. But one of the things that to talk about that point, even though the refine rates have changed, we've increased the gather rates to go right alongside that. So you're not really changing the amount of grind in terms of like hammering things. We're sort of adjusting the transporting aspect of it, right? So if you're transporting raw resources to the refinery, it's going to be harder than transporting these resources that are refined already. And one of the reasons of several is that we want to make sure that the refineries in the world were strategically important, right? Because if we didn't have this, there's absolutely no point in claiming a refinery that's like in a certain place. You're much better off just driving it all the way to your, without that, you just need one or two really secure towns and you just put everything in there. And we feel like that works against the idea of like strategic locations, right? We want this concept, this thing that we're going to be working towards is this concept of like, okay, you're storing, this is where, again, in concept, not in actual things in the game, but in the abstract, right? Like, in World War II, you want to bomb the enemies like fuel depots, or they're like wherever they're storing their resources, right? This is us trying to push into that concept of like, you need to worry about where you secure your resources and where you're kind of like stockpiling, where you're doing these things, because otherwise this whole concept of like, just the sandbox war and like strategic locations mattering is pointless, right? Like all this work we're putting in the game, if everything is really easy and you just sort of, here's your one town, you can do everything at it, completely works against what we're trying to do, right? But having said that though, again, going back to that whole part of this stream where we talked about like requiring the shakedown time, right? We all need to see the big picture. Honing in on one aspect, like a refine rate, is like, I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't sound like bad, but it's like it's like taking a look at just this tiny part of a picture without looking at the larger context. The whole game is going to be different.
Yep.
The whole game is going to be different. And if I had my wish, I would have changed the names of every resource in the game so people wouldn't be so focused on like these very specific things. Like this one thing that they knew about is changed slightly, that's going to be bad, right? But that one change is completely meaningless in the larger canvas. So I'd say, make sure you wait for the shakedown and try to look at it in the larger picture, right? Yeah.
Cyclone 42 asks, any comment on the recently spotted aircraft in the world?
No.
Yeah. A similar question.
So I want to add something to that though, right? And right now we're not working on planes, right?
Yeah, we're not.
So I'll say that, and nothing's planned.
As far as I know.
Right. We're not saying anything about that. But I will point to something, right? At one point, and you can take this and think whatever the hell you want with it, right?
I don't know what you're gonna say.
At one point, we had a rocket in the game, right?
I knew you were going to do that.
And it was old, it was kind of a broken rocket, it was like abandoned. And we ended up doing rockets, right? At one point in the game, we had these broken harvesters that didn't do anything. We had harvesters. Now, that doesn't say anything about what we're doing in the future, but I'm just saying that if
you never know.
No. I'm just saying, statistically speaking, the track record of seeing things that are old and broken and rusty in the game eventually show up in the real game says nothing about our plans. I'm just saying, I'm pointing out these statistics of how that works out.
It's just fact, guys.
Yeah.
It's just absolute fact. I can't remember where the question went, but someone asked, can you put Thunderfoot back in this update? No. Thunderfoot is already there. I don't know what you're talking about. Someone else asked, I lost these questions because I scrolled away. Why are there over like 200 forts in the game?
Do you want to talk about that, Matt?
Yeah, sure. I petitioned to get some of them removed, and we have removed some of them because I do think there's too many, but it does address a big problem that we have still that we haven't found an elegant solution to solve. So I'm not a huge fan of them as a mechanic, but I think they're incredibly important right now. I think that I don't want to get into too many specifics right now, but I think we are coming, we're developing some really clever solutions to get around this problem in the future, or we're talking about it at least, and I think you guys will be happy with them. That's all I want to say. That's just really vague, but I don't want to commit to anything right now. We'll ask two more questions. So that one was way too many. Will there be more weather influences added soon, like rain?
Oh man, I want to see that.
Soon is hard. I don't think soon we have any plans for that. But it's weather is something that we discussed quite a lot, actually. I mean, several times.
We've done some tests and we've done some little like experiments, and we've gone pretty far. I just think it's not time yet.
So I think there's one thing that I do want to say about weather is that one of the things that we've always pushed into with Foxhole. Sometimes not enough, but certainly now we're sort of making a point to do this, and far in the future, is we want to explore aspects of the war that are not usually seen in these type of games, right? Like there's no war game that has a crane, right? But cranes were a real part of war, right? And things like weather and the impact of weather on soldiers, and you know, just this you know, snow being a huge factor. If you're fighting in snow, it's going to be different beyond just like a visual. Oh, look cool! It's like a snow background, but it actually has like an impact on your supply line, on like your army. These are all concepts that we love to explore. You know, even things like base needs to get supplies before your soldiers can actually spawn. The side of the war that you don't see, and I think weather kind of belongs in that type of like category. So I think that's where it really interests us, right?
I would merge weather in the same category as fire, for instance. That is another thing that we always talked about, is like these environmental hazards in a way that do influence a lot on how you fight, influence where you are and how you deal with that, and how you do logi. That like fire is something that we mentioned that we want to eventually pursue if we have time, if we have the programming time. And I think weather kind of like falls into the same
Absolutely.
idea.
And I think another thing that, you know, now we're on this topic, HB, like I think one of the other things that we're really fascinated about is on like the medical side, right? Like having to utilize a hospital, or sort of even this idea of having to use like an ambulance, like, you know, sort of the aspects of war that aren't like shiny, you know, like not all like flashbang like action, like is the thing that we love pushing into, right?
What if on areas that have like several bodies, infection starts to spread, and then even if you're fighting from there, like you have to be careful about that so you don't get infected. That would be so
infections in World War I were insane.
Yeah, I know,
the
right?
cause, it's probably, I think, the biggest cause of death in like the First World War, right? So
and if we're gonna do stuff like fire and weather, we just want it to be really impactful.
Yeah.
Like we could add fire effects that take like a couple days, but that's not cool. Rather have fire be like a big thing. I think, you know, just as a visual effect, I think you're going to see some more rain, fog, and snow than is currently in the Dead Branch coming up, because I'm going to add it. But other than that, it's not going to have any like real impact, just like it doesn't now. I'm going to ask one more question.
Last one.
No, you pick one.
Me?
Yeah, throw you for one.
Oh,
it's a lot of pressure. Pick an easy one.
We're working hard. We don't need to think hard.
I'm gonna pick this one.
Sure, do it.
No.
Why don't we do one?
I don't know.
Okay.
There's no good. Why don't we do
Blair,
one that's
with the
short and easy, and then we'll do one hard one.
With the removal of port bases, how will logistics refine BMATs on day one?
How will logistics refine? Oh, all the facilities are going to be built
in the starter towns.
In the starter towns, yeah. So this is one thing that like we really want to do, is we want to remove that giant barrier, right, for these larger towns. So when the war starts, you go to your nearest logi town, which will be claimed already, and all the facilities will be built there. And then you can go and have a field day.
Port bases are gone. Doesn't mean that your starting conditions are completely gone.
Oh yeah, definitely. The starting conditions, we're actually kind of like going to be significantly buffing starting conditions, right? To make sure that both sides are, at least for the first war, because we're dealing with a lot of new things, and we want to make sure that things are stable on the first day, right? First day or two, until people get a chance to get used to how things work. So we want to make sure that there's plenty of facilities to use, plenty of resources, plenty of soldier supplies. And sort of like, day 2, 3, 4, you might start feeling like, okay, now I'm starting to feel a little bit the stress of the scarcity and like, having to think a bit harder, right? So. And
then moving on as the game progresses, as people get used to the new flow of the game. This is the kind of balance that we can look over. Just a question for myself, is Kirknell and the Blemish going to be claimed to start as well?
We're still coming up with the final layout, but one of these really cool things is that before we had to predefine the starting conditions. So like starting towns, victory towns, resource nodes, all that stuff is fully dynamic now. So we can literally be like, oh, let's move these starter towns over here. Let's move these victory towns over here and these resources over here. These starting regions here. Hit the button, start a new war, and everything's new, right? And this is one of the sort of like these hidden features about Update 26 that's going to be so awesome is that when we do the second war, right? If we want to, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's so easy for us to be like, we're completely changing the starting conditions. Like we're going to, instead of it being like this, we're going to turn it slightly this way in terms of the starting points, and we're totally going to make it, okay, well, sulfur's not on the left side, sulfur's on the right side of the world. Right? These are the starter towns, completely wild. Like, this is all in the cards now. Like, this is all really exciting, right? Yeah.
That is going to be a lot of fun.
Cool. That doesn't answer the question, but I think it answers part of the question. HB, you've got some final words?
Yes, something that I was not here last week, so you guys didn't say, is that we have this dev stream every 2 weeks. If you're watching this on YouTube, join us on twitch.tv/foxholegame. If not, if you cannot do that and you don't want to ask questions live, you can always join us on our Discord, discord.gg/foxhole, and ask questions for us there. Join the community. Be merry, and thank you once again for everybody that submitted art for the art contest. We will be contacting the winners.
Yep.
And
everybody who submitted bugs in the dev branch.
Yeah, this is
Thank you all.
Thank you. That's been a
it's
huge
really
help,
helpful.
guys.
Good.
Everyone, yeah.
Okay, thanks guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks, and as always, stay foxy.